So the second game we have on the podcast is Tribes: Dawn of Humanity.
The designer is Rustan Håkansson. The artist is Claus Stephan, and the publisher is KOSMOS Piatnik.
So in Tribes, you're basically going through 3 eras of the Paleolithic era and like the stone, whatever, up until like the early parts of the Stone Age. The idea behind the game is there's a grid of tiles. It's 4 by 3, right? So each of the 4, each row is one of the 3 ages. And as you research these technologies by having resources, it'll you'll put your scoring marker on there, and then it gives you that prerequisite to be able to move up to the one above it, and you'll keep going until you're in everybody's in the 3rd age. You're not really like playing the game one age and then move on to the next. It really just represents the 3 ages, so each player can progress differently. Each time you do these, events will come out, and eventually when 4 events of the 3rd age get resolved, the game will end. And then you just count up victory points, which in the game are represented by like saber-tooth tiger teeth or something. And whoever's the most is the winner. So the way the game plays, though, just to kind of give you a brief overview, there are 6 different action tokens that are shuffled up and put in a row. There are 2 of each of these 3 actions. There is procreate, there is move and explore. One of each copy will have a slash, and it has like a research hand, which will allow you to be able to research those tiles I was talking about. So you have like a procreate and then a procreate research, move research, and then explore and explore research. Those are the 6 basic actions. Each player starts the game with 5 seashells, and this is like a currency of the game. And what happens is, if you want to, when it's your turn, you're going to take an action by selecting the action you want to do. You will perform that action, and then you'll move that tile to the end of the row. The first action tile in the row is always free for you, but if you want to do one like maybe like you want to procreate, but it's not until like the 4th tile, you have to put a seashell on each tile that you want to pass up, and then take that action, do the action, and move it to the end of the row. The 3 actions are pretty simple. One, we'll just start with explore. So when you explore, you draw tiles out of a bag. There's 5 different resources in the game. These tiles represent those resources, and they're hexagons, and you'll put them in front of you and kind of add them onto your little map. And that's like your part of the land or whatever. Procreate gives you more tribes people that you're going to put on the map. Movement allows you to move them around on the map, because in order to be able to count the resource as a prerequisite to one of the achievements or whatever, you have to have tribes members on that tile. When you do a research, you're going to choose one of the 4 things that are your options there. Say for instance, I want to do, I don't remember the actual names, like pottery or something, right? Mm-hmm. Or maybe like mining. It might require you to have some gold. So you might be on the gold resource, and then you will be able to put one of your completion tokens on that research tile in the left spot, and that one's worth the most victory points, and then the victory points will go down for each other player, so you get a little bonus for being the first player there. Sometimes the spot that you put your completion token on will actually spawn an event, and each of the 3 ages has a event, like kind of a deck, but they're all tiles just like the action markers, and these will put events into the action row to be selected by anyone. Obviously they're at the end of the row, so they won't be selected at first unless you're rich. But then, so you get points and stuff. On top of that, whenever you do a research, it's going to raise one of these 4 stats. So you have the same 3 actions, procreate, move, and explore. Whenever you do that action, you get to do it essentially with whatever value your little marker on that row is. So it's like procreate, as you complete researches that raise procreate, every time you take the procreate action, you'll be able to make more people by taking one action, up to like 3 or so.
You get better at procreating.
Yeah, you do. Also, I think it caps out at 3, but it goes up 4 spaces, and each space it goes up, or maybe it's 5, you get bonus victory points at the end of the game for that as well. But there's also space for movement and explore, and there's also one for strength, because a lot of these events will actually reference if when you take it, if your strength is if your clan is the strongest, or if your clan is the weakest. Some of them will just do all clans suffer 2 tribe members dying or whatever. And so that's pretty much the game. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to it, except I will mention one thing. There is a small arrow that each player gets that you can put out as a free action. You only get to do it once. And what it's for is if you need a research, or when you do a research, it allows you to go to the column above it as a prerequisite, and then the column above that. So you have to go in that column from bottom to top. Well, if you put out your arrow, you put it out at a diagonal. So maybe this pottery, instead of being the prerequisite for the one above it, or being the one that you would go to next, now you can split off and go to the right, and you can circumvent one of the researches. So maybe, like for instance, in my case, I didn't have a lot of incense, which is one of the 5 resources. So I use my arrow to bypass the one that requires incense, so that I can still research the second age thing that was above it. But the problem, the trade-off with that is once you put that arrow out, anybody can use it, because now it just says the prerequisite of this one is the one below it and the one to the left, or the bottom left diagonal, if that makes sense, hopefully. Anyway, so let's talk about the game. If we come across any other things we want to mention, we'll mention it here. So, George, let's start with you, since we start with Eric, I think, on the other game.
Sure. Well, I think the theme holds together. You do get better at procreating through research. And there's
scientifically proven.
The theme actually doesn't hold together a whole lot, because
actually, I was like, no.
That was just a joke I wanted to make, because the theme itself, you don't feel it a whole lot in the game. It's it's a very light Civ game with a tech tree, and there's nothing to make you think that you're really a tribe of cavemen.
Yeah, I mean, the only example I'll say of this is maybe pottery is a prerequisite to like first aid or whatever, because they're just randomized. Right. The tech tree is randomized.
Yeah.
So like some things
could be cheese.
Yeah, cheese making makes you better at war,
first aid
or whatever.
Yeah, your clan gets stronger.
So it's just an excuse to have these various mechanisms put together. But having said that, they work very well. It's a very smooth, very fast Civ game, and that's something. I
mean, each player's turn is like bam, bam,
amazing.
Bam. Oh, it's my turn again.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really fast.
That's the problem I have with most Civ games. So I liked it.
You know what? One of my favorite things about this game is the action selection. Because what it ends up doing is sometimes becoming like a no thanks situation.
Yes.
Because like, for instance, one of the events might say like destroy 2 of your what's called exhaust, 2 of your tiles. Well, I don't want to do that. And so like as the actions get taken, that event starts coming to the beginning to be free, and you don't want it. So whoever has the least amount of money at that point is probably going to get stuck with it. So if you're familiar with no thanks,
everyone else is going to pay to skip that one. Yeah.
Right. Which actually, that part about it wasn't my favorite.
It was so awesome.
Just because, and I'm guessing we played it right, your seashells are available to see by all. So you could kind of plan out, all right, I got more money than this guy. He has the least money, so he's going to take that bad action.
I don't remember a rule that says that.
If it was hidden in your hand, I think it would make it a little bit better.
I think you could easily do that.
You have to make that decision. Do I want to spend my shells to get a better action this turn, or do I want to conserve these shells so I make sure I don't get stuck with this bad action? Because not only is it a bad action, it does something that's bad to you, but it's also like a lose your turn action as well.
Yep.
Because it doesn't give you any kind of benefit.
Yep, I agree. I think having that house rule, if it's not the actual rule, it should be the house rule.
I'm going to kind of look it up as we talk, because I don't remember anything saying that your seashells are hidden. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it could have been something I missed. I mean, I don't think it would have changed the gameplay for me. I mean, it'd be the same type of game.
Right. I mean, there's not a lot in there. So if you have a certain amount of shells, you could kind of deduct how many your opponents might have, but you wouldn't know for sure.
Yeah, I actually think that would be much cooler if you hid your seashells, for sure. I mean, the back of the box shows the seashells on the table. And it didn't really mention anything. No. And I can't find the rules right now, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it would be a cool variant to add if it's not the case. I don't think it's a knock against the game, though, if it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually thought that was really cool.
It was fun.
Because I guess it doesn't really matter if it's hidden, because as long as you have one.
I would say there is one benefit that you get from that at least. Usually it gets stockpiled with shells, so at least you are able to get abundance of shells, and then later on you can benefit from taking the actions that you want.
Right, and that's the same thing that happens like, no thanks, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. Well, I gotta take it, but it has 12 tokens on it.
Right.
And that, everybody only starts with 5 seashells, so it's not like it's going to go around a million times, but at the same time, it can go out around quite a bit.
Yeah.
One of the final events that we had from the Third Age was like volcano or earthquake or something. It destroyed like 3 tiles, and somebody got stuck with it, and they ended up getting like 10 shells out of it. So, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, it made it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Maybe not worthwhile, but they got some kind of benefit at least
they
from
did.
it. Right.
Well, I mean,
Because also, I think also he had the least amount of land tiles.
he had a lost civilization at this point. I don't think much was going to turn that around. But
which I would say on this particular game that we played, I tried to break the system a little bit by taking a lot of the land tiles to kind of starve off the other players. But
there are rules against it, so and not
right.
against
not
it,
against
but
it, but to subvert that style.
Eric was so disappointed when
I was like, we had to look it up in the rulebook.
he realized, he couldn't actually just starve everyone of land.
yeah. So
I could in a sense, but not as efficiently as I wanted.
Exactly, because the bag represents it's 50 tiles, 10 of each of the 5 resources, and so if all the
bag's empty.
Right,
Instead of pulling from the bag, you are allowed to flip over a tile that is.
Right. When you do explore, if you get to draw 3 tiles and there's none in the bag, now you get to explore, quote unquote, 3 of your tiles on your map that was exhausted. And the reason that they become exhausted, other than events, is if, for instance, and which this also kind of circumvents what he was trying to do as well to a degree, like each age requires the same resource, but 1, 2, and then 3
of the same type.
So if you're doing a Third Age tech tree research, you might need 3 gold resource tiles, separate tiles. But in order to circumvent that, you can exhaust a tile that is not that gold or not of the gold type, and then basically it's face down on your map.
As long as you have a tribe member on there.
As long as you have a tribe member and at least one of the actual resource. So if it costs 3 gold and you have a gold and no other gold tiles, you can use that gold tile and burn 2 other tiles to basically make up for it, and you'll be able to complete it. So the only reason it's really going to mess you over is in a 4-player game, because the tiles are spread out amongst everybody, and there's like, if somebody draws like a couple of times and all the incense tiles are gone, but before it gets to you and you didn't start with any,
and you never got it,
and you never got 8 incense. But the way you circumvent that is what I did, because I didn't have any incense, so I used my arrow to divert the prerequisite of the incense to something else. So now I need it like
it is gonna block you out of 3 different tiles that you never can go to.
Huh?
Because you have one that's requires 1 incense, one requires 2 incense, and one requires 3. If you never get incense during the game, it is going to block you off from those 3 tiles.
Try not to do that.
That's true, but I don't think it's that necessary, because you're not going to get a completion. You're not doing
every one of them,
right?
It's just going to kind of lock you into
specific paths and stuff. Yeah,
it's not a problem.
Either way,
it could be though.
The game is pretty quick.
It is.
It's like so fast.
Eric, did you keep track of that?
Yeah. Keep on talking, and
it's so clear. The things that you need to do, you have to explore to get more land. You have to move. You have to get more people onto the places that you already have, and then you have to move to get them onto the new land, and then you can use that to build your tech tree.
Yeah,
it's so clear cut, and it's so fast. I really enjoyed this one.
Well, for our play, it was 1:20. It didn't even feel like 1:20 though.
No, it felt like about 50 minutes.
Pretty fast.
I'm shocked to hear that it was that long.
Yeah.
Well, we were learning it as well.
That's true. I think the board, the box says 45 minutes, and I think that we could totally do 45 minutes next time we play this.
It felt like 45.
Yeah, it definitely felt like 45. Man, if we played it in 45 minutes, it would feel like a 30-minute game. 25 is like just burn through it.
It was good.
So, yeah, and I liked all the events. That was one of my favorite things about it. The action selection row and all the really fun events that come out was awesome.
It's essentially a rondelle,
Is it?
right? Because the basic ones that you have, when you take one, it goes to the end. So it's a circle.
Well, that's
in
true.
a sense, it's a rondelle that changes.
I just liked it because it reminded me of No Thanks. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Right.
Yeah, that's good.
But you could skip ahead a little bit. And I mean, even though there's only like 3 basic actions of the game, I felt like that row of actions really did matter.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because you're like, oh, please don't take that one.
The
Please don't take
research.
that
The
one.
research is the one you want so badly.
Right.
And there's 3 of the tiles that would have it, and it felt like it was
Yeah.
never available.
Right.
It was pretty cool. I mean, it's a very fun game.
Yeah, I mean, I did like my playthrough when we played it. However, for me, I feel that subsequent plays might not encompass and keep that enjoyment for me. You do go through most of those tiles, so you kind of experience the game,
Like the events.
right?
Yeah. I think we
mostly
went through
throughout the
most.
game.
Well, you go through 4 of the, well, no, maybe like 8 or so from each. I mean, yeah, you go through quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. So it didn't have a large variety of different events that might come out. For me, anyway, a lot of them kind of seemed similar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the first ones that come out, they're usually some type of a benefit, or they might benefit everybody. Like tier 3 is the ones that are like bad for you to take usually.
Yep.
Expansion needed.
Oh, I was getting ready to say that. This game would be awesome with an expansion.
And then you go attack other tribes.
Yeah,
That would be
add a
kinda
couple
neat.
other little elements to it. I think it
Add
would
like
help.
some action cards that you can play and stuff. It'd be cool. There's so much you can expand on this that would be great. I don't quite see it getting an expansion, but I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, so maybe it will. I don't know how well it's doing.
Hopefully.
So, but he also designed one of my favorite games, Nations.
Oh, okay.
And Nations the dice game. So, very nice.
Played a lot of that.
Yeah, play. Sorry.
Maybe Tribes: Dawn of Humanity, the dice game.
Right? I don't know. I just want to see this action selection. Maybe it's in other games and I haven't just seen it or played a game with it, but I really, really like this action selection.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. So, big thumbs up for me. I really like this one. Any final thoughts for you guys?
Same from me.
Yeah, half thumb up for me.
It's a half a
I
thumb.
was like, yeah,
What's the rating scale here? Are you doing 2 thumbs up? Is this like a 25 out of
If it's
100?
2, maybe one and a quarter.
Let's do a 10 out of 10.
Like a
10 thumbs.
6.5.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's a respectful score. Actually, what does it even have on let's see what it has on the old BGG, which you're probably watching this video from.
I'm guessing it'll be about that.
It's got 6.9.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would put it up there about the right. I think it's a pretty accurate score.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
Nope, not for me.
Covers it.
Well, that is Tribes: Dawn of Humanity.